Hi, this is Shui with a review of the huarache DNA CH1 Channel 1. That seems to be the name that's written on the box. I used to really envy my cousin wearing the huaraches. I had some rugged basketball shoes back then, and this seems so slick. And I love this little neoprene upper. It just feels so good. But he was an actual serious runner. I wasn't, so I thought those shoes are for serious runners. I don't deserve them. Anyway, I'm older. I don't run as much. I never did. But I do walk around and I do hoop around a little bit. And the cushioning on this is insane. I'm so glad that it happened. The huarache has been retroed many times. Most of the times it involves some collaboration with some fashion labels or some limited edition collector's items. But now they're back to looking and feeling more like a full-fledged Nike performer. First of all, if I were to talk briefly about the history of the huarache, huarache is basically about this neoprene upper. That's the main concept. That's the core concept of the shoe. Tinker Hatfield, the designer who is legendary in Nike for designing the Jordans 3 to 15, he came up with this idea after going water skiing or jet skiing, water skiing or wakeboarding or something. The shoes or footwear they have for those contraptions is a full thick neoprene boot. And when he put it on, he felt like it just hugs and forms to the shape of your foot so nicely that he had to come back home and design a shoe. He actually bought one of those neoprene footwear for skiing or wakeboarding, and he actually designed a shoe on the neoprene footwear itself. And he came up with this. Just put a little rubber reinforcement to provide some stability, and he thought the shoe would be good to go. And he tossed the idea to the late Sandy Bodecker, who is responsible for Nike SP, that skateboarding lineup. He is a genius behind the success of that line. And he said, "Oh, these look like the shoes of gods." And that's exactly what Tinker Hatfield was going for, something that Zeus or Mercury would wear. They didn't even put a swoosh here because they felt confident that only when people see this shoe, they would think only Nike would be crazy and innovative enough to come up with something this radical. Uh, it it was it was a brainchild of the two mad geniuses, but unfortunately, apparently there was not a lot of high demand from retailers because they felt a little unsafe about selling such a radical looking shoe. It doesn't even have a classical heel counter or heel cup. It's this little rubber reinforcement does the job for it. So this, among other things, was a bit of a concern. Maybe the lack of swoosh as well. So they didn't even get the bare minimum amount needed to print them out of or produce them out of factories, about less than 5,000 apparently. So what they did was, instead of waiting or just folding the project, they produced 5,000 and they poured it down to the marathoners at the New York Marathon. And once it was seen on the feet of the runners, and everyone was probably going, "What are those?" It took off. Everybody wanted one, and the line worked, and they even implemented in cross trainers and also basketball shoes. Michigan Fab Five, the starters, including Juwan Howard, Chris Webber, and Jalen Rose, they wore it, and they wore it with the black socks, and that's why it made them even more notorious and famous. Michael Jordan and the Bulls only started wearing black socks in the playoffs in '96, so they were way ahead of the times. In '91, the college kids from Michigan actually managed to come up with that idea. Anyway, the cushioning concept, it's supposed to be a full-length Phylon and air sole in the heel and the forefoot, and those who dissected some of the original models showed really thick air soles in the forefoot and the heel. And I could feel that when I snuck my foot into my cousin's original huaraches back in the 90s. When they retroed, I certainly felt the difference because it felt like they were going more towards trendy, fashionable shoes, so they maybe thought they could cut down on cost by just giving a plain EVA midsole with some coin-sized air sole on the heel. So that was a little bit of a bummer. And also the fit was kind of all over the place. It was either the toe box was too large or too narrow, or too flat, or the width was too wide or too narrow. So it was a little all over the place. Fortunately, the DNA makes up for that, more than makes up for that. The Phylon cushioning itself, it's soft on its own, and you can clearly feel the air sole working on the heel. Even the forefoot, I'm not sure. I've not dissected it. I did not find any source online talking about whether they have an additional air sole. But if this stayed true to the original, and I think this is somewhat of a tribute to the late Stephen Bonecker, so I'm pretty sure they put an air sole there. If they didn't, they are using really soft forefoot midsole. It feels as soft as if you tried the Air Max 2090. Was it 9020? The forefoot is super soft and the heel is hard. That forefoot, that's how it feels. This is how soft. That's how amazingly soft this is. This is what air sole feels like before Zoom Air or Tensile Air is introduced, and it feels just as good, if not better, than conventional Zoom Air. The cushioning is amazing on this one. It feels like it squishes the moment you place your foot in it, and it reacts and moves with you as you're actually going on little soft jogs or run. But despite what it looks like on the outside, it's really low to the ground. It's not that thick on the inside. So if you're a heavy runner, this is not for you. You might feel a lot of compression. I'm pretty heavy myself, but I think for guys who weigh more than 80 kilograms, you might want to reconsider if you pound on your heels a lot. But still, it's good. It's better than most of the conventional cushionings out there. I love the setup. It's amazing. Even the flex grooves, they actually eradicated the rubber, just like the originals. The midsole is exposed, so that's good. The midsole is exposed in the midfoot area as well, so that's good. Back then, people worried that wouldn't that make the air sole inside vulnerable if I step on thumbtacks or whatnot? That was a ridiculous concern. Nowadays, everything's exposed. The waffle outsole pattern is good, pretty thick and durable. For a size 9.5, I had to go half a size up because it's really hard to slide your foot in sometimes. You need to make sure you pull this back up so your foot goes in, because if you don't, because of this non-existent heel, because the heel cup doesn't exist, it collapses like this. So you can't just slide your foot in. It's called sandals or huaraches, but still it's hard to put in. You have to pull it back a little bit. But it's not as hard as putting certain shoes with one piece upper, like the KD 8 Elite, which had this crazy sock, or the recent Next Level Adidas. It's impossible to put your foot in those shoes. So it's a lot more convenient than that, but a little bit less convenient than conventional shoes with a loose tongue where you can just slide your foot in and there's no heel cup there. But again, if you're those who feel a little bit of a discomfort or something chafing, or you feel some suffocating sensation because of certain heel cups, then this is the shoe for you. Zero worry about heel cup discomfort, non-existent there. So it's nice. If you like it tight, go true to size. If you like it casually, go half a size up. For size 9.5, it weighs around just about 300 grams, which is actually quite heavy considering how light it feels and looks.